Let me tell you all a story about a man named Dev. Poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. And then one Friday had a packed schedule, and that's why we're recording later than I thought. The Saverly Hillbillies, starring Devon Decker, featuring Sejohn Sarowick.
Oh, you had it. You had such a good moment there where report would have at least had an inward rhyme with thought. It's okay. It was good. I give it an A. Could have been an A plus, but I give it an A.
I'm happy I got an A. You know why? Because I got 4 S's in Resident Evil 2. So your A's are, I mean, they're nice, but like, I got a rank that's not even a rank, Sejohn.
Fantastic.
Oh, buddy.
Man.
So hi, welcome to the Serenity Report. Again, I am Devon Decker. He is Sejohn Sarowick.
Hello.
And I want to say that I planned too much for tonight, but really I planned just too much for my Friday. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed at all. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, set an hour timer, and was like, I'm going to try tackling hardcore mode in Resident Evil 2.
Nice.
And then I ended up leaving for work half an hour later than I usually do. Because I'm like, I'll just go till I die. And that didn't happen till later than I expected. So.
Fantastic.
So that was fun.
What is the deal with hardcore mode? Like, break that down for me really quick. Because it's not like
it's just Resident Evil 2 regular.
Yeah.
Really, the only difference is that you need ink ribbons to save. That's the big difference.
You can't just be saving galore every time you run across this thing. But
Right.
that's the big difference.
I have to apologize to your brother. If you listen to Say Report Jr., and I hope you do, if you listen to the Say Report, please be listening to Say Report Jr. Like, I don't want it to go to their heads, but like, it might be a better show than ours.
We've said that before.
Yeah, I just I don't know. Like, can I tell you something? Your brother is back in the state, and I'm like, I'm a little nervous. I'm going to be starstruck when I see him for the first time. But then, like, I think about that, and it's, no, I can't possibly be, because he talked about how he's mad at me since I'm the reason he had to re-download Resident Evil 2 because I got better scores than him. So it's going to be a weird moment when me and your brother like see each other again in person because of this whole podcasting thing that I'm excited for, but at the same time, I might get popped in the mouth.
Yeah. It'll be a lot like that moment in Coriolanus when the two of them meet. You know, like there's like a healthy respect between the two of them.
What a great reference is what I'm going to say to you.
Oh man. So you've been playing some Resident Evil, and I am super happy to hear it. Look, I am totally ready to make today just like a Resident Evil day if that's what we're gonna do. But is that what we're gonna do?
No, because I like I said, I planned way too much for today, and I saw a crazy movie last night, and because of that crazy movie I saw last night, I'm finally ready to peel back the onion layers of my time with the game Celeste. So I have a lot to talk about. You haven't played Resident Evil 2 yet, and I understand why, but like I'd like to wait until you've played it. Because you're the, like, seasoned veteran. I'm the baby. And then, like, even the double baby, Dale, streamed a little bit of it yesterday. And it was so enjoyable to watch her play that game.
And I do really hope she goes back to it. I know that she's kind of on the fence about whether or not she's really going to push it with that game. But I really do hope she does. Because, I'm just encouraging everybody to play it, essentially, is what it comes down to.
Well, it comes down to that, but it also comes down to the conversation we had this morning where her going, I'm probably going to stream Resident Evil 2, don't start hackers yet. But then she had to take my father to the doctor, you know, just regular checkup, but like he was not ready to drive himself. So she says, I'll take you to the doctor. So that didn't happen. But her plan, completely removed from anything that I said, no outside stimuli, was to play more Resident Evil 2.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
So I was very happy to hear it too. And I'm sure Zach was happy to hear it because he wants to go on like the crazy deep dive of that game their next episode. So she's like, so Dale, you have to play the game so that you can like hold your own in that conversation. But yeah, so that's what I've been playing. I can't wait for you to play it because I'm worried that as someone who's played the game, you're gonna hate it.
I can almost guarantee you I'm not going to. Let me just put that first and foremost. Secondly, I do have to say every time I duck into like a Walmart or a grocery store, I am checking Redbox, and it is just out at every Redbox available in it. Like it's there, it's just grayed out because somebody else has it right now. So I'm just waiting. As soon as I can find it in one of those in one of those boxes, or if my paycheck comes through and I can use like I was saying last week. It's really hard for me to figure out right now what I'm going to dedicate some of that money to, because we have also not been secretive about the fact that we've been kind of getting into that Destiny 2 thing, and so like there's a few things on my plate,
I mean,
as well
you
as some other
received
things.
the Twitter message I forwarded to you, right? About Destiny
Which
2?
one? Oh,
About the fact
yes,
that we could buy it for $15 and have everything today.
yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, but I know where you're at. Like it's looking at your resources and it's trying to survive by
Yep.
best allocating them.
It's resource management, my friend.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Nice. Nice. Oh man.
But yes,
Yeah,
so
no,
so I
it's
think that's enough RE2. So before
okay.
I get into the rest of my crazy day, do you have anything to add or that you'd like to speak about?
No, I mean, like, I'm excited to I want to get a little bit deeper into it before I have my rant about it. But me and Tess have been getting deep into rewatching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and we finally finished season one. We started not even like a week and a half ago, so like we flew through season one. And so we've started season two and now have a couple of those episodes under our belt, now that they have like bigger budget and all that sort of stuff. But I want to maybe wait until I get through another season or two before I really get into my rant about how much fun I'm having with that show and about how television in the 90s, it was before its time. Let me just put it that way. That is where I'm at the moment with that show. I cannot watch an episode of that show and not just think, I cannot believe this is an early 90s show because it is just going back and rewatching that show now in 2019 and like knowing what I know about where television goes and the quote unquote golden age of television, like I have some thoughts and feelings about that show coming out in the 80s. But we'll get there.
Well, I'm going to use that as a jumping off point to say that I have started a rewatch of my Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is Cheers.
Hey,
God, do I love Cheers.
God.
And-
Oh man, I got to go back and do that one too.
And I finished the first season of Cheers.
Nice.
And the only thing that I could think of after watching that first season of Cheers was all of the episodes that I remember and ascribed like strong feelings to from the Ernie Pantuso coach years are all season one. And like that was a punch in the face. Just how much of that show is like that first season being as good as it was.
Yeah.
And like the quality doesn't even dip despite character changes and cast changes that would like cripple any other show.
No, I mean, Cheers is fondly remembered for a reason, like it deserves its place in in television history, like then, and and it's not an unforgotten gem. Like people still talk about it. In fact, I was gonna say that me and the family have been talking about going back to it because the girls are just way into The Good Place. And like listening to everybody talk about Ted Danson on that show and talk about his career in television and about how it's kind of never stopped, because when he was done with Cheers, it's not like he stopped acting.
He did
like
Becker.
Yeah, and then he had both Damages and Bored to Death going at the same time, didn't he?
Yep. And then after those two finished, he went right into CSI, taking over from Lawrence Fishburne after he took over from Gil Gerard.
Yeah, that's right. He had a CSI series for a while too, but now, I mean, The Good Place is just on fire,
And I'm so happy that it's on fire and it's an NBC show because it's like one of those things where Seinfeld, completely unrelated from the Ted Danson thing, except for the fact that George Costanza is so jealous of Ted Danson when they start writing the pilot. He's like, I want what they give Danson. And it's like, yeah, but he's Ted fucking Danson, Costanza. What the hell is wrong with you?
So good. It's so good. Yeah. I mean, but if you needed any more proof, like a show that really in no way had no real connection to Cheers, like becomes such an impactful show because again, we've talked about like George Costanza and the fact that he is Larry David, right? Like, and you know that that's exactly what Larry David was feeling when they started Seinfeld, was that he was like, that's the kind of place I want to be in, right? Is that Cheers place? So like, right there, you can see the kind of influence it had, even on a show that in the end we never really saw any real bleed through or connection to. But
Well,
Cheers
that's
mattered,
not
man.
100% true because there is the episode in L.A. where George Wendt is on the Tonight Show and Jerry's the
Mhm.
comedian.
But
And
that's like
George,
season
that's season
6, isn't
three.
it?
That's season
3?
three.
Is that as early as
It's
it is
that it's
because
that
that's the one when
early.
Kramer ends up being
Moves to
on the
L.A. at the
yeah
end of
yeah.
and he's on Murphy Brown, which
Right.
also hilarious. But when he corners George Wendt and he's like, "Enough with the bar already," and then like that's the story George Wendt does. Like, I read this nutcase in the back telling me that like we should take Cheers out of the bar.
Right.
And it's just, that's so funny because in addition to like the character of George Costanza being the kind of person who face to face with George Norm Wendt would be like, maybe it's enough with the bar. And the show set at the bar. But I can also imagine Larry David, like the first time he was at an NBC room with these characters being like, hey, what about Cheers? Like, enough with the bar already.
Oh my God. Oh man. Cheers. Oh God.
It's so.
I'm glad you're rewatching it, man. I'm really I'm glad somebody is.
Well, after I watched Seinfeld twice last year, I'm like,
Mhm.
I Cheers deserves the rewatch.
Right.
It's just that like Cheers is so much more in depth than Seinfeld, and also
Right.
I cry like a bastard during an episode of Cheers. So it's
Yeah.
like hard to have on as a background show at work.
Yeah.
Because like the first
Sobbing at your
episode
desk.
that had me just like, oh, this was a mistake, is the one where Coach's daughter comes to visit, and she's gonna settle for like a real dickhole of a guy as a husband, and he's only marrying her so he can get a promotion. And she's like, a girl like me doesn't find anything like that because she thinks that she's ugly, and like she's not ugly. I don't think she's ugly, right? Well, first of all, because she's TV ugly, which is a whole other thing that we
Right.
can explore some other time. But, and then like one step further from that, and she's like, you know about mom, and Coach's reaction, I'm gonna cry right now, is that like your mother was more beautiful every day that I saw her, and like and you would remind me so much of her, and then the daughter wants to be like, but mom was ugly. But then, like, she takes his pause and she's like, you know that mom wasn't comfortable with her beauty. And that just breaks me every time.
Right.
That, like, this girl who is not happy with her looks has to consider Coach's feelings. And he's never going to not look at his daughter and not see the most beautiful thing in the world. Jesus.
Yeah, no.
CJ, talk, because I'm crying over here.
No, I mean, like that's what made Cheers stand out from any other quote unquote sitcom of the time, right? Is that it was willing to do that emotional turn on you, and it did it successfully. It wasn't. It was always well earned, and that's what always made that show important. And I mean, and it's what they attempted to do in every fucking spinoff of that show, right? Like, I mean, you need more. You need more proof of that show's impact on television. Look at the shows that came after it. I mean, like Frasier alone, right? Like ended up going on for years and being a staple, and that was another show that also had it.
I have Frasier problems, and I hate being the guy who's like, I have Frasier problems, but
it never hit the heights that in terms of creative success. I don't think it ever hit the heights of Cheers, if that's what you're getting at. Like,
it is the fact that Frasier in Frasier is not Frasier from Cheers. He is Frasier Crane in name only. and it doesn't get any further than the episodes where Marty, his father, is like, why don't you come down to the bar and have a couple and meet some of my old friends? And Frasier, I would never go to a place like that. And it's like, buddy, you went to a place like that for the last 8 years before you got all like self-serving and holier than thou and moved back to Seattle.
But isn't that kind of the whole point of him, like as a character? Like, is the fact that he tries so hard to not be that, and you know that he's a fucking asshole because he was that.
I know
Like,
it's
I
just
get it. Don't worry.
it,
Like
it
I'm
just
right there with you.
it eats me up inside because Niles, and that's the
Hmm.
reason why I like Niles more than Frasier in
Yeah,
the show Frasier. Niles is more like the Frasier Crane we came to know and love in Cheers.
for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, like Frasier became its own beast is essentially what happened. Is like that show just it did what it had to do. Let's be honest. It had to. It couldn't be Cheers Junior for the rest of its life, right? Like in all honesty, like it couldn't be the spin-off of Cheers for its entire career and be as successful as it eventually became. Like it had to take on its own life and be its own thing. So like I don't know, I get like what you're saying about like coming at it as I was a fan of Cheers and Frasier doesn't do it for me. Sure, I get that, but as somebody that like I,
Oh,
I don't know.
when I can shut off all the switches in my head attached to Cheers, I can really enjoy an episode of Frasier.
Yeah.
It's just that like as I've grown older, like as a kid it was easier to do that, but as
Yeah.
I've grown older and as I've watched through Cheers, like the full series start to finish two whole times with like a
Yeah.
fully formed adult brain,
Hmm.
Frasier becomes harder to watch because like those switches are like more stuck in
Well,
like I prefer this Frasier to
well,
the
of course.
Frasier who's like I'm not I would never go to a sports bar ever.
Well, and I think that every spinoff struggles with that, right? And I think that that's one of the things that, like, I mean, you want to talk about successful spinoff universes and like crossovers and all that. I mean, like, we live in the age of one of the most successful spinoff crossover universes of all time, the Arrowverse, right? And it is one of those things that people were really nervous about when Flash first started, was like, how is Flash going to prove itself as a show unto itself? And what they've done in great sci-fi fashion. You know, Doctor Who and Star Trek had all of these great built-in excuses for things to be able to change and be different without you having to really think too hard about it. And what they've done is with Flash is they've created the idea of alternate universes and the idea of being able to break through. And so they've been able to create a show in which you can have these weird things happen and you can just always write it off as like, well, we did fuck with the universe last season, so who knows what's different now, right? And so again, like a la Doctor Who and the idea of like regeneration and the so we can completely revamp the show and basically make it a whole new show every few years, right? Like and that's again, it's something that every spinoff has to kind of struggle with. So like going back to the whole Cheers, Frasier, Cheers, whatever, like I mean anything from that time, in a weird way, it never really put its foot down about why things would be so different, other than the fact that like you watched Frasier become kind of this terrible person when he moved back home, and that show Frasier rests on the comedy of him being a terrible person in the end, right? And you know, everything in the early '90s kind of feeding off of Seinfeld became that, right? And none were ever as successful as the way that Jerry Seinfeld could do it. You know, Cheers is the total opposite of that. You love everybody, right? Like you're not watching that show to watch people be terrible to each other. I mean, as you
You're
just
watching
proved.
people in terrible situations be kind to each other.
Exactly, exactly. And so, like in a lot of ways, it's kind of the anti-Seinfeld. In beautiful ways, it's the anti-Seinfeld.
Yeah. So that's what we're going. This was a good conversation, Sejohn. I'm going to pat us on the back, and then get to all of the insanity that I did. So I'm going to start with last night. And last night I wanted to go see the second Lego Movie. That was my plan. But I had a dentist appointment at 2:50. And now that I'm not seeing movies at Showcase, the closest theater is half an hour away. So I got out of the dentist at 3:20. That's good, right? That's a nice tight half hour dental visit. I was proud of myself. Yeah. I need a crown, but no cavities. It's just that like a tooth that they worked on earlier, the crown broke. So they're like, we just need to replace that. And I'm like, that's awesome. Thank you. I was really nervous about like another root canal.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You do that one time in your life before you're brushing 18 times a day.
Yeah, you don't need to do that again. You do that once, that's pretty much enough to convince you to just kind of for the rest of your life take care of shit. Yeah.
So we get out. Dale got dropped off at the dentist, so we're heading out right from the dentist. We are half an hour away from our destination. And everything is fine until we hit traffic on like a weird back road. Like, I cannot even explain to you how traffic happened there. Have you ever been in a traffic jam on a back road, Sejohn?
I mean, no, I guess like maybe going around the URI, but you could always explain it because the friggin' college was right there, right? Like, but besides that, no, generally traffic jams you've only really ever experienced in like 4-lane highways, right?
Yeah, it's not like we're near anything. It's not like, oh, they're having a sale at the pool supply store that is in the middle of nowhere for no reason. It
Right.
just was like a lot of people were going that way, and it happened to slow down traffic. So we didn't make it in time to see the 4 o'clock Lego movie, but we're in Lisbon, Connecticut, and we have the AMC Stubbs A-list, so we're going to see a movie, right? We're not going to turn around.
Right.
The only movie that's starting with like any sort of like convenience where like we're not waiting an hour or two is Serenity. Are you familiar with Serenity? Like at all?
Wait, like
Not
Like-
the continuation of Firefly.
you've blown my mind because like I honestly thought you were about to start talking to me about Firefly, so my brain is completely fried. No, what is this other
Okay,
Serenity?
So you're spoken like somebody who did not see Ocean's 8 in theaters. That's how you just spoke. Because they showed the only time I ever saw the trailer for Serenity was the 3 times that I saw Ocean 8 in theaters. And that was June of last year. And it came out January 2019. So, like, we're talking a good 14 months later. This movie is coming out.
Yeah,
Like, there's been a nice gestation period.
yeah.
And the trailer made me feel so uncomfortable. Like, I'm like, I have no fucking clue what's going to happen in this movie.
Yeah.
But, like, that can be fun, right? And it's Matthew
Oh, yeah,
McConaughey
totally.
and Anne Hathaway. And I'm like, I liked Interstellar, kind of. So it'll be fun watching those two work together again. Let me tell you, first of all, if you have not seen Serenity and you want to see Serenity, stop listening. Because I'm going to spoil it. And once it is spoiled for you, you cannot go back.
It's okay for my part because I had no idea this
You
movie
didn't even know it existed. Oh, yeah, no. You unfortunately, you signed on to do this show, Sejohn. So you don't get that blessing. And like, I understand that as well. That's why if you're like, I want to talk about this, I will sit down and watch all of a show. So we can have a conversation. So Serenity 2019 takes place on Plymouth Island, where Matthew McConaughey plays Baker Dill, plays Baker Dill, a fisherman. And he is hunting for this tuna that he calls the Beast. And it's this big motherfucking tuna that he is trying to catch. And he's named this tuna Justice.
Okay.
So
This sounds like a movie that you're making up as you go. I want you to know that.
Well, okay, I'm glad. So he's trying to catch this tuna named Justice. And everybody on the island is like, that tuna is in your head. Like, that's not a real fish. You need to start, like, catching swordfish or, like, taking out these rich assholes who come visit the island and taking their money so they can try to catch fish and fail. Like, you need to understand that, like, those aren't the rules of the game. The rules of the game are not to try to catch this big fucking fish that's in your head. The rules of the game are survival. Right?
Okay. Is he like doing this at the cost of his life? Is that what the deal is? Like is this like a Moby Dick story or
So he has a first mate played by Damon Hussain. Is that his name? Damon Hussain? That
Okay.
guy who's like awesome. He's a great actor. I just have no idea how to pronounce his name.
keep going.
but so-
if you're waiting for me to correct
I
you,
was hoping
sure.
you would. No, so he is his first mate, and he's like, I need to get paid. Like, we got that fish, and you gave up $700 from each of these rich assholes who were on our boat trying to catch tuna, and you pulled a knife on them. So, like, that's my livelihood gone because I'm trying to work for you, and how are you going to pay for gas tomorrow? So what he does to pay for gas is Diane Lane plays like a woman on the island named Constance. He
Of
basically
course.
whores himself out to her for money so he can afford gasoline to go out the next day.
What the fuck is this movie?
Right? So I'm good. I'm glad that you're feeling just as, like, freaked out as I am as I'm watching this whole thing happen. And she's like, if you ever need more, you can always find my kitty. But they're also talking about an actual cat that she owns that you see around the island occasionally. Because, like, the cat is at his house after he goes home from his, like, hookering with Diane Lane. And he's like, your mom is looking for you. So he goes to go out again, and he doesn't find anything. He comes back to and he blames Djimon Hounsou's character. I can't even think of his character's name in the damn movie. And he's like, "It's your fault."
A little bit of research.
Yeah, look up this guy's name because I'd like to not sound like an idiot every time. Because there's also fake names. Because spoilers, Baker Dill is a fake name. Look up Serenity, get this guy's name.
Wait, his name is not a real fucking name? Wait,
no, it's a pseudonym. It's an assumed name because he ran away from the world to Plymouth Island. Because everybody on Plymouth Island got secrets, but everybody on Plymouth Island knows everybody else's business. So yeah, so anyway, I'll keep going. So he has this whole thing with Djimon Hounsou's character, and he's like, "It's your fault that we're not catching this fish. Ever since your wife died, you're bad luck." Which, like, that's a punch in the fucking heart. But it's also, it's a punch in the heart because you're like, wow, what a dick thing to say. But in addition to that, it's sort of like the White Fang, go on, get moment. Because he knows that this guy will work for him forever. And he will keep showing up for work with him even if he can't pay. So, like, he has to say something unforgivable so this guy will go out and get other work so he can support himself.
You mean Djimon Hounsou?
Djimon Hounsou! Yeah, I've been saying his name way wrong.
Okay. Now that I know who you're talking about, I can help you out. Okay.
Djimon Hounsou, apparently.
So Djimon Hounsou, but wait, so...
What's his character's name in this movie?
I'm so fucking, like, floored by just everything that you said so far. Hold on.
We're not even at the craziest fucking part of this movie yet, Sejohn.
What?
It gets weirder. What's Djimon Hounsou's character's name? First of all, now I can say his name. You've saved me.
Yeah. I'm still doing research. Give me a second.
Okay.
There's a lot about this movie and about how insane it is, but nobody can actually talk about it.
Just IMDb. Just IMDb.
I am on it.
Okay. So anyway, Duke. Thank you. So the Duke like Conrad or Connor, right? Like whatever, it doesn't matter. So he says that whole, "You're bad luck ever since your wife died. Go on, get." And then he goes to the Rope and Anchor, which is the only bar on the island, and freaking Anne Hathaway shows up. And she's like, "I'm gonna pay for your drink." And she drops $100 bill on the bar and leaves the guy like a huge tip. And she's like, "So, do you want to talk about your son?" So apparently, like, no mystery to the fact that they were together once and they have a child in common. So she's like, "You were right, you know." And he's like, "I want to talk to you. Get the fuck out of here, Anne Hathaway. I'm done." And she's like, "But you were right. And he's going to kill us. If we don't kill Mr. Zariakis, the man that I married, he's going to kill me and he's going to kill your son. That's why I've convinced him to come to Plymouth Island and to go out on your boat hunting tuna, and you're going to murder him for me while you're out there hunting tuna." And he's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do what you just asked me to do." And she's like, "You do it, $10 million. And she's like, "No, I'm not. Get the fuck out of here." So then she leaves his boat. He goes out sword fishing, gets $800 so he can go hunting the next day. And everybody on the island is like, saw you with that hot Anne Hathaway in the bar last night. What's going on?
Oh, shit.
And he's like, nothing. She just wants to hire me to take her husband out, but I'm not doing that. I don't have a first mate right now. It's illegal to fish without a first mate. And I had to fire Duke. But then Duke comes up and he's like, I heard that. So, no, I'm jumping. Friggin' her husband is played by Jason Clarke, which led to the best joke of the night because Jason Clarke, in like 2 trailers before Serenity, was in the movies Pet Sematary and this one set in like Nazi Germany that I can't think of the name of right now. And I look at Dale and I go, you like watching Jason Clarke get cuckolded? So he shows up in the movie and he's like, come on, take me out tuna fishing. And Matthew McConaughey's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't have a first mate. It'd be illegal for me to do it. You're going to have to find another boat. So they go back to the hotel, Anne Hathaway and Jason Clarke, and he's like, I need to inspect you. So she strips naked in front of him, is all covered. You don't see anything. And he puts on like reading glasses and traces her body, and he finds like a little scratch on her leg. And he's like, what's this from? And she's like, it's just a scratch. It's nothing. And he's like, oh, were you looking for Kitty? And she's like, no, that's not it. So he stands up, takes off his belt, and beats her to like within an inch of her life.
Jason
Clarke does this. And I'm like, freaking Ted Kennedy killed that girl. I don't care, Chappaquiddick. Hashtag. Hashtag Chappaquiddick. So everybody talks about how like she was beaten within an inch of her life because the maid at the hotel, Consuela, talked to Constance, who talked to Duke, who talked to Joe at the bar. So like everybody he runs into the next day is like, he beat her. So he's like, motherfucker, this guy, like, I know I was right about this guy, but like, I don't want to murder this dude just for this thing. Like, you know that there's other stuff there. And then the other rumor is he took $10,000 out of the mercantile bank, and that's what he's going to offer him to take him out tuna fishing that day. Even though he said, like, I don't have a first mate, I can't do it. So Duke comes up and he's like, you know I need that money. Take me as your first mate. Forget about your stupid justice tuna. We'll split it. I'll only take $2,000. You can have $8,000. Like, do it. Like, forget about your pride. Think about your livelihood. So he's like, fine, whatever. And he does it. And he agrees to take the guy out. And
I have yet to find the point at which I don't think you're making any of this up.
Oh, Sejohn, that's never going to happen. That's honestly, I'm going to get to the end of this story, and you're going to think I pulled your fucking chain for the last 20 minutes. So, spoilers, because that's how batshit crazy the rest of this goes.
Okay.
So they get on the boat, and McConaughey looks at Duke, and he's like, I need to ask you for a favor, Duke. Keep me from temptation. So they go out. They're trying to hook a tuna. They end up hooking a 14-foot great white shark instead.
What?
Jason Clarke's like, I don't care that it's not a tuna. I want to catch it. So there's like this scene where like they catch the shark and they show it and it's on the boat. And it's like, well, we can't do anything with that. Like, you can't sell shark meat. It's illegal.
It's illegal. It's illegal to even have that on the fucking boat, you assholes. What are you going to do with it?
So he comes up and he's like covered in blood and everything. And Anne Hathaway's there. She's like, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it? And he's like, I told you I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to kill him. You made your decision.
Wait, she comes out of the shark?
No, she's at the dock when they come back in.
Oh, so they come back in, and do they still have the shark?
They still have the shark with them. He's like, look at that fucking shark I killed. And she's like, why didn't you kill him? And he's like, I told you I wasn't going to kill him. So, like, get this thing off the boat. And she's like, he'll be here tomorrow, and that's when you have to do it. So the whole thing goes on. But while they're on the boat hunting for the shark, Jason Clarke is like, is it true that over in, like, the merchant area of that island, there's little girls still taking an ass for $10? Because, like, they really want you to hate this guy.
They really want you to hate this guy. They're doing everything they can to make you hate this guy.
and like, McConaughey and Duke are like, we don't know anything about that. And he's like, sure you do. I'm sure you paid some of them little them little cock teases. So you're just like, oh my God,
Jesus.
I hate Jason Clarke. I thought I hated Jason Clarke in Chappaquiddick. Hashtag, now it's Serenity. So this whole ridiculousness happens. So he goes out to like bang frickin' anal whores in the merchant area of Plymouth Island. So Anne Hathaway comes to the boat and she's like, he's out doing that. And she's like, I still have the ring you gave me. And, like, it's a fake, like, little wedding ring that he gave her from a stove. And she's like, I still love you. I never stopped loving you. It's just that you left. And I needed to provide for our child. So that's why I married him. And he's like, no, you can come here and you can say it's business and you can say everything. But don't you dare talk about love. And then they fuck. They have the sex.
Because of course they do.
And Dale is convinced that after they have the sex, McConaughey goes, I won. I took that from him. I did not hear that line, but like, you're trying to make us hate Jason Clarke's character. That kind of made me hate McConaughey's character if he really was like, I just won by fucking you. I am all that is man. I am Baker Dill.
Oh my God. This is fucking ridiculous.
So
I never thought, I got to say this now because I've been thinking it since you started this nonsense. I never thought that I would think that Matthew McConaughey made a crazier movie than Tiptoes, but this is nuts.
Oh, dude, this is the crazier movie than Tiptoes. So then McConaughey leaves his boat and he goes back to his house because it's storming. So he can't go out sword fishing to make extra money. And at his house is this little salesman guy who, like, we've seen in the background trying to catch him, but he hasn't honestly said anything the whole movie. He's just, like, been trying to, like, get his attention from the background. Okay. He comes out of the shadows and he's like, we need to talk, Mr. Dill. And he's like, it is 2:30 in the morning. What the fuck do you think you're doing?
Okay, that's the most reasonable thing this person has said so far in this
and he's like,
recap.
And I am a salesman, and you were always out at the ocean. So I figured with the rain, you wouldn't go out. If I waited at your house, I could catch you. So he's like, whatever. So they go into the house, and he's like, why are you here? And he goes, I am the rules of this game. I am the game maker, and you need to not kill the man. You have to catch the fish, and that is why I'm here to give you this fish finder from Fontaine Fine Tackle Products. And it's like this really nice fish finder, and he's like, you're just going to give me this? He's like, it's a free trial. You could try it for a week, and if you work, you can pay us the money for it.
What the fuck?
So he's like,
what?
So he gives the guy alcohol. He's like, you're going to have a drink with me. You're going to, like, ambush me outside my house. You're going to drink. We could talk about this fish finder thing. And the guy is talking more and more about the rules of the game and how this is not how the game is played. And what you're doing is wrong. You need to just catch the fish. That's what the game is. There are many games on Plymouth Island. Find the cat. Catch the fish. Kill the man is not one of the games. And
are you fucking kidding me? Is this about to go where I think this is about to go?
Maybe, Sejohn. Who knows? So the guy leaves, and like that whole conversation fucks with McConaughey's head because he ends it with he's like, "What else is there? What else is there besides Plymouth Island?" So McConaughey wakes up in the morning, and up to this point, we've seen him wake up right at 5 o'clock. He wakes up at 4:59. He cannot get out of bed until his alarm clock goes off at 5 o'clock. So then he gets out of bed and he's all like shook by that. And he pulls out all of his charts and he's looking. And the only thing on any of his charts is Plymouth Island. Like even as they pull out further and further, it's just ocean around it.
Oh my God.
So he's like freaking out about this. So then he's like going and he's like breaking the rules. Like, I'm gonna do that. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna drink hard liquor on my boat, even though I've always had a rule about not drinking hard liquor on my boat. And then he goes to his boat, and Duke is there, and he's like, I took care of your temptation. And it's like, what are you talking about? So it cuts to Anne Hathaway in bed, and there's blood all next to her in the bed, and then there's bloody footprints walking towards the bathroom in her hotel room. So she wakes up and she follows them and finds Jason Clarke. The bathtub is full and it is blood red, and he is passed out on the floor. And you're like, what the fuck? And then it cuts back to Duke, and he's like, I paid some boys $2,000 to make sure he don't come out on the boat today. But like McConaughey at this point was like ready to kill him, right? Because he won.
Right.
He banged Hathaway, and he's like, I don't care. I don't care
That's
about.
not how the game is played.
That's not how the game is played. So Hathaway convinces him to still go out to the boat, even though he's like broken hand, all bloody, in and out of consciousness. So they go out to do the whole thing. And Anne Hathaway comes too, right? Because it's like, fuck it. At this point, we're just killing this guy, right? That's what we're going to do. So a kid stows away. Diane Lane's child stows away on the boat.
What the fuck?
Because
she has a child
that was like alluded to very early on in the movie as like he could be a first mate who'd be better than Duke. And then he just shows up on the island and on the boat.
Wait, how old is this kid?
He's like 21.
Okay.
And he's
okay.
like,
I thought you meant like a 6-year-old.
No, not like a child. Like he's like.
I mean, I still am not okay with this. I shouldn't say okay, but I understand.
But it's better than it being like a 4-year-old.
Better is a term, but yeah.
So he's like, Anne Hathaway is like, I'm not going to kill him in front of the kid. And she's like, it's not my idea that you kill him. It's your son's. So he's like, oh, I can't. I don't know what to do. I can't do it. I can't do it. So then they're fishing for the tuna, and he hooks the tuna called Justice, right? So he's trying to reel it in, and then Jason Clarke's like, no, I want it. I'm going to catch the fish. I'm going to get that fish. So McConaughey is like, fine, you want the fish, take the fish. And he, like, you've seen Jaws, that whole, like, thing that he rigs into when he's trying to pull in Jaws.
Right.
He rigs him into that, and he's like, you ain't going to catch that fish. That fish got you. And it pulls Jason Clarke off of the fucking boat. And he's like, man overboard! Oh no, he's dead. Jason Clarke is dead. And then it cuts to a kid in front of a computer screen.
Yeah, I knew it! Sorry. Sorry, keep going.
And you hear Anne Hathaway and Jason Clarke's voices, and they're fighting, and like you hear like beating. And he opens up this tackle box, takes out a knife, and goes and kills, assumedly, Jason Clarke. And then it cuts away to like they're in Florida, and it's like a local area man was found dead, allegedly second-degree murder when his son stabbed him. The mother, and it says Anne Hathaway's character's name, says that it was self-defense as her husband was beating her, and the son stepped in to protect her. And then it talks about how his principal is Dill Baker, and that the student is an IT genius. And he had like created little worlds in the computer so he could disappear. And he also like missed his father had died in Afghanistan, Joe Mason, and they allude to that being McConaughey's real name, even though everybody calls him Baker Dill. They're like, you were Joe Mason before this. He died in Afghanistan. So like, so then it jumps back into the thing, and like there's little hints that like it's a game. Like sometimes it shows a kid typing at the computer, but like it's so deep into the depth of field that you don't even think about it. Or like McConaughey is sleeping, so you think that maybe he's just dreaming about his kid. Because
this is upsetting. This is genuinely upsetting.
Goes back into the game world, and he's like, I did it. I took care of him. What's next? And his son's voice comes in, and he's like, I think I'm going to put myself into the game so that we can be together. And at that moment, Dale, like, pearl clutch gasp, thinking that his son's going to kill himself. But no, I
guess. I wouldn't care enough to gasp.
Right. He just programs an avatar of himself into the game so that he can hang out with the avatar version of his father in the game world. But there's this really cool, like, Avengers Infinity War thing where the whole world starts turning into, like, polygons and fading away as the kid is programming himself into the game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the twist of Serenity, is that it's all a video game.
that this little kid is playing.
Now this little kid,
Oh,
he's like 14, 15.
still like a child, like it's all a child's dream.
Yeah.
It's all a child's dream in a snow globe. Oh my god. Oh my god. That oh, I am like angry at that. I mean, look. Matthew McConaughey. I'm going to read you a quote. I did this research as we were talking about this movie, and I found his Wikipedia page and all this nonsense. And I'm going to read this quote from Wikipedia. McConaughey recognized that his quote lifestyle, living on the beach, running with my shirt off, doing romantic comedies, end quote, had caused him to be typecast for certain roles, and he sought dramatic work with other themes. And that is what I believe is like the lead into then talking about the insanity that was Tiptoes. And anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about when I mention that movie, it is considered one of the worst movies of all time. Gary Oldman plays a man with dwarfism, and the entire time it's just him on his knees with like shoes on his knees. It is considered one of the worst portrayals of a disability of all time. It's a pretty horrendous film, and Matthew McConaughey is the star of it as Gary Oldman's brother, not with dwarfism, but with the dwarfism gene, is a weird fucking movie. Anyway, I have like seen papers written about how terrible that movie is and about McConaughey and the idea that he thought like this is it. This is gonna be me not being the dude that does like, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days anymore. That sort of shit. I cannot believe he still has that shit in him. That he feels like he needs to do these weird ass fucking movies. Like, how do you read a script like that? How did any of them? Jason Clarke, I can almost forgive.
Jason Clarke's the only one who like that's the type of movie Jason Clarke is in.
Right.
Like, Anne Hathaway and Matthew McConaughey have both won Oscars.
I mean, Diane Lane and Jimon Hansu aren't any better. Like Jimon Hansu is like, I mean, Blood Diamond. Like, Jesus, man. Like, that dude has done some movies. Now, like, granted, he's not every movie Jimon Hansu has done has been like stellar. Like, I mean, I think he was in like Aragon or one of those weird like book to movie franchises that didn't go anywhere. But he is still like a legitimate actor in this world, and like McConaughey is somebody that has gone out there and like he won an Oscar 2 or 3 years ago. Like, we're talking about a guy. Why? Who read this script and thought this was the movie to make next?
I don't know.
Like, this is insane to me.
Can I tell you my favorite bit of trivia from the IMDb trivia page? Because it's not like just trivia. It is specifically IMDb trivia. This is the first movie. Presumably, this is the first movie of 2019 to take place on a boat.
I take issue with that because the twist proves it does not take place on a boat. Oh my god. Yeah. This sounds like the kind of thing that 10 years from now somebody's going to be writing about like how we all missed out on the genius of it or some weirdness, like, or there's going to be something that comes out where people are just like, it's a terrible movie, but let's talk about all of the like things about it that like made it a terrible movie. This is insane. This is just insane. I love this.
And the reason why that like Dale and I were like, I guess we have to see this movie, because it was one of those movies where like we'll see it if we get the opportunity. It's not like go out on the Thursday and see it before release date type movie. Mm-hmm. But then your brother was like, I just read an article that gave a point-for-point plot synopsis of Serenity, and I want to talk about it with you. Do you think you're going to go see it? To which Dale was like, don't tell me about it. Don't send me a link. I will go see the movie. And I'm so happy that we went to see the movie.
Yeah, no. I'm glad that you saw it too, because now I'm not going to pay money to see it. I will tell you that right now. But that movie will be in front of these eyeballs by the end of 2019.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I can't wait until it is. Like, honestly, I hope that you watch it with the girls and they don't know the twist.
No, I don't know if I could. I don't think I could inflict that movie on them. Oh my god! But can I? Can I tell you, I just get to the end of Wikipedia and I just found the greatest thing of all time. Oh my God. After all of this and his whole like, I need to go out there, I need to be making dramatic films, and I will say that that somebody has recently updated Wikipedia to include this. They say the erotic thriller Serenity, that also starred Diane Lane and Anne Hathaway in that order, was panned by both the critics and audience. His next role is in Harmony Korine's The Beach Bum.
Yeah.
he's
Moondog.
he's
He plays a character named Moondog.
he's come full circle of just being like, you know what? I was wrong.
Well, you know what though? I also glossed over in Serenity. He's like, I gotta go take a shower, and strips down to nakedness and just cliff dives into the ocean. So like, he's also still a beach bum walking around on the beach.
I just like, I feel like he's tried so hard to overcorrect from that image, and and I get why he feels that. Like, I totally get why somebody like Matthew McConaughey feels that way, despite the fact that he is, like I said, like he's a person that we have seen standing on stage with an Oscar in his hand. Like, I know where that feeling comes from, and I get wanting to run away from it, and it's almost scary thinking that his need to be seen as a dramatic actor is so intense that he gets a script like this and is just like, sure, whatever it takes, I'll do anything. Because like, man, you don't have to subject yourself to movies like this. You know, it's the same way that I kind of felt about Johnny Depp in Transcendence a few years ago. Is like this like need to like get in on the sci-fi thriller that clearly was him trying to get his foot in the door in that genre. And like, you're just like, man, I understand why you want to be doing this, but this was not the movie to do it in. And it just feels like that, like all over again with this movie. This is insane. This is nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then we were gonna go see Cold Pursuit afterwards, but then we're like, no, we're just gonna go. After that movie, it feels unfair to go see another movie. Like, that movie deserves a full day's reflection. And that's what it got.
Wow, man. I'm just stunned. Like that. You know, when we talked, it's funny because you mentioned this right after last week when we talked about the idea that like, I don't ever think a movie that is already made and exists should just be like not seen, you know, and this is a movie that tests that, right?
But here's the thing. Here's like, on paper, my synopsis of this film, like, it sounds banana pants. During the movie, watching this thing unfold, I thought it was so fucking cool. I was allowing this movie every concession where I'm like, I don't care. I feel uneasy. I'm like, there's things that are happening that are like funny, but like the kind of funny where like it's disconcerting what just happened and what I dealt with. Like, this movie, as crazy as it is, it was such a good time at the theater. The only thing that would have made it better is if right as it was starting, two other people hadn't walked into the theater.
If you'd just been on your own.
Yeah. Because then we could have been like, what the fuck is happening out loud? Yeah.
It's one of those things that like, there it is, right? Like that's going to be the forgive the unintentional pun that I realized I was just about to make, but that is the hook of this movie, right? Like you're going to have to talk about it in that way. Like, this movie is one of those movies where it sets out to put you kind of in this uneasy place. It sets out to kind of invoke those like really dark noir feelings of like, you know, I need you to murder my husband, and like this whole thing that he has to go through. And then the realization that really what it is it's all about this kid like dealing with the idea that he realizes the only way out is murdering his stepfather, right? Like, and so there is this spine to the movie that is a strong enough spine that you can see why somebody would make this film. You can see why somebody would watch this film, why somebody would go through the effort of actually taking this script and putting it on screen, is because there is a nugget in the center of it that is gold. It just so happens that it's a nugget of gold surrounded by shit. Like, you know, like And so the question becomes, is it worth digging through the bullshit in order to get to that nugget of gold in the middle of it? And for some people, it's always worth it to find that gold mine. But like, man, I cannot believe that there is a cast like that attached to a script like this. It sounds like a made up story. Like it just sounds like you just made up everything you just said to me. If
Right?
I could not find more about it on the internet like I have, I wouldn't believe you that it was that it was a film you saw in
I
theaters.
wasn't kidding. I was right. You were not going to believe it when I finished talking. Because, like, I still can't believe that I experienced it. And it filled me with this crazy, weird energy that, like, I didn't know what to do with. Like, it was a cool thing. And you know
Yeah.
what? There's a bunch so here's the other stuff I did, and we'll have to talk about this next week. Like it's too much to get into right now, but that's good because it will maybe give you time to watch these movies as well. My recovery today was to watch Hackers, as I do every Friday. But
Fantastic.
then on like, ooh, you like Hackers, you might also like this, available on Amazon Prime, was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, fantastic.
And then I watched that, and at the end it's like, you might want to watch Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So I watched those movies, and I would like to talk about the message of Bill and Ted through the lens of 2019. But there's too much to get into right now. But if you would like to watch them so that maybe you can be reminded of what those movies are about, and
About being awesome to each other.
being excellent to each other and partying on.
Yeah.
That's the central conceit. But I gotta tell you, through the lens of 2019, I feel like that message would get lost for a couple of like 80s movies concessions. And that makes me so upset. Like, that is the thing of this movie where I'm just like, it sucks that this movie, people would focus on that one thing that just happened instead of trying to get the message of be excellent to each other.
I gotta dig through my Blu-rays because through the various movies over the years I've definitely pared down my library, but at one point I did own both of those on Blu-rays, so we will see.
If not, just like little spoiler for what we're going to be talking about is that. But there's
Mhm.
something else that I need to talk about with this time. We played Pandemic Legacy. I'd love to fill you in on what happened with our February game.
Nice.
Slight spoiler, we lost.
Oh no.
But you play 2 games in each month, and we won the second one. So I guess that's kind of that story. We lost the first one, won the second one. I'm loving the Legacy stuff. I'm less like bothered if a city is rioting right now than I was after
Nice.
the first time.
Nice. Yeah.
But so I'm excited to play more of that. But I'd really like to just talk about like how the game evolved and changed from January to February, because
Yeah.
that was very cool. But that'll be for next episode as well. What I need to talk about, and like I'm sorry that I need to talk about this, is The Curse of the 13th Ghost, the finale movie of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Because
You go for it. I thought you had a whole podcast that you were going to dedicate to this, but
yeah,
sure.
but then I got sick, and then we finished watching the movie, and I turned to Dale and said, I'm so happy we didn't do a podcast, and after that movie, we're never going to do that podcast. The movie systematically ruined the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
No.
To call it disappointing would be a disservice to the word disappointing.
Oh, ouch. Jesus. Yeah, all right. Let's oof, man.
So here's the first thing I'd like to talk about regarding the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, the original series. You heard me talk about the pilot episode in great length. But what I did not mention, because at the time I did not know it, is who the showrunner was for the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Would you care to venture a guess as to what famous 90s animated series showrunner ran the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo in 1985?
Was it like a Brad Bird type or something?
Similar. More Warner Brothers animation.
Oh, I mean, are we talking about like Steven Spielberg or
Well, he worked with Steven Spielberg, and
who are we talking about?
Tom Ruegger,
Oh, all right.
the genius behind Tiny Toons,
Mm-hmm.
Animaniacs, and most specifically for me, Freakazoid.
Yeah, yeah, the guy that like basically ran the Steven Spielberg animated series that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Did he do Pinky and the Brain and that sort of
I
stuff
don't
too?
know if he did Pinky and the Brain, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Probably like had some hand in it,
yeah,
but I think by the time Pinky and the Brain, he was running Freakazoid.
yeah,
And it perfectly explains that it's him because 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo is hyper meta. And if you want to
yeah.
hear just how hyper meta that show is, listen to Say Report Jr. this past episode called Scrappy Doo Got Screwed, because Dale went off on like this meta thing that happened that like shook her to her core in a way that like it didn't bother me as much because like it's Tom Ruegger, I get it, but she had never experienced something like this. But the thing that was crazy to me is one of the ghosts was like this beautiful succubus lady,
Right.
literally the same character model as the monster that dates Cosgrove.
Fantastic.
Like, and she even lights a candle with her nose in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. So I'm just like, this is awesome. This is a cool continuity nod where they're like, no one's going to remember this. Or if they do, what a fun little moment for them.
Right.
That, like, this succubus lady is now trying to kill Cosgrove, and she was in 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Right.
Like, really cool. Like, that was so much fun for me. And that was when I realized that it was Tom Ruegger. Because I'm like, there has to be someone in common between these two shows for her to show up. And lo and behold, is the guy who ran both the shows.
Yeah.
So then we get to the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo finale movie, Scooby-Doo, The Curse of the 13th Ghost. And if you want a full synopsis, again, go listen to Say Report Jr. They did a very good job about it. I'm going to talk about the end, Sejohn.
Mm-hmm.
And that is... I gotta breathe. I gotta take a little breath.
Cried twice in one episode.
No, I'm not crying. I'm angry. And I don't want to yell so much into this microphone that I damaged the delicate, like, element guy. In the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, ghosts are real. That is not questioned. It is
Right.
never a guy in a mask.
I mean,
In
it's
the
the whole
first
point.
episode, we meet Bogle and Weird, who are ghosts who are guarding the chest of demons. And then throughout the show, we meet other ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this really cool moment in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo finale, The Curse of the 13 Ghosts, where someone finds the orb from the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and Shaggy, Daphne, and Scooby, like, freak out because they're like, oh my God, we thought we were done. Like, we thought we were done. And then Freddie and Velma are like, what are you talking about? Like, and they have to tell them what happened. And the conjecture in the movie is it was too weird. It freaked Scooby the fuck out. Because there are 2 episodes where, like, Scooby has mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he continues hunting ghosts, Scooby-Doo is going to die.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
those
Right.
are the stakes in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Is he can deal with it, but he needs a break right now because he's about to have a heart attack from high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Great Dane. Like, that's how most Great Danes die. So they find it, and they inform Freddie and Velma about what happened that summer that they were both at camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go meet Vincent Van Ghoul, who now is voiced by Maurice LaMarche, a.k.a. the voice of Brain, because
Fantastic.
Vincent Price, rest in peace. But he does a fine job, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
none of the voice changes bother you, right? Like, it's not Casey Kasem, it's Matthew Lillard, and
Right.
it's awesome.
Right.
So the whole movie, Velma is like, there has to be an explanation for it. Ghosts are not real. And they're like, no, ghosts are freaking real, Velma. We dealt with it. This was our whole thing, was dealing with it. Please get out of your skeptic chair and get on board with this because we need your help. Because there's one ghost left and we need your help. Whole movie goes on. Velma finally has a moment where she believes ghosts are real. And then it is revealed at the end that the 13th ghost is just a dude in a mask.
What?
And the dude in the mask is Vincent Van Gogh's former friend and treasure hunting buddy, Mortifer, who was thought dead. They show him die in the very first scene of the movie in sepia tone flashback. And he faked his death because he wanted the chest of demons because it's not dangerous. We could make a shit ton of money by showing it off to people at museums. So it just becomes a basic Scooby-Doo plot.
That's so...
The worst part about it is Bogle and Weird never show up in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Vincent Van Gogh does not use any magic in the movie. He's using magic all the time in the original show. But every time they're like, "Come on, Vincent, you could do this. I've seen you do this." He's like, "No, I ever since the 13th ghost has come, I can't use my powers."
So wait, so is the conceit that all of the ghosts and everything that we have ever met have just been what how do they explain the rest?
Velma at the end, they're like, "Well, how can you explain the other 12 ghosts, Velma?" And she's like, "We're in the Himalayas. The air is thin. They were probably hallucinations." And I'm just like, but they traveled all around the world. If the show only took place in the Himalayas, that's fine. That's a fine explanation for it.
No, it's not. It's not a fine explanation. It's an explanation. It's not a fine explanation because oh my god, I'm just like, because it's more than just the 13. It's more than just the 12 ghosts that they meet, though, right?
They meet witches who actually do stuff. They get sucked into a movie by Zamba, one of the 13 ghosts. They get sucked into a comic book due to Cosmic Ink from Demondo.
I mean,
they experience. There's one called Coast to Ghost where they literally have to travel across the United States in a night in order to lock up the 11th ghost, because if they don't catch him, he's trying to race the sun, and if he can do it, he'll get all this power. So it's just so this movie basically just undid that entire series, and I don't know why.
It almost feels like it just doesn't fit into that series. So it's you know what I mean? It almost feels like it's not even a real part of that series.
Yeah, that's it. And Scrappy-Doo is not there. I need to figure out what happened to Scrappy-Doo, what the word of God explanation for the disappearance of Scrappy-Doo in current Scooby-Doo media is. But Flim Flam shows up, and even has the Lots of Luck Joy Juice and all sorts of references. And then he says to Velma, he's like, "Where's Scrappy?" And she goes, "What's a Scrappy?" And I'm just like, I'm so mad. First of all, Fred and Velma are there in the show, right? So after watching 13 episodes of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, you don't miss them. There's a reason why the creators of Scooby-Doo cut those two characters out.
Yeah.
In the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and then kept it that way for the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Because those two characters really don't add anything to the team.
No,
so
at least not for that story, right?
Yeah. So the second they're there, it's just I want them gone. I'm tired of Velma being like, "There's an explanation for it." And it's no, the explanation is that their ghosts are real. And done. That's all the explanation I need. And then Freddy the whole time is cuck male bullshit because Daphne is "Well, I'm going to take the lead on this one because I was sort of the leader while we were fighting the ghosts before. You're a little out of your element." So he's like, "Well, where do I fit in then? I know, I'll drive your van." "Oh, it's a stick. I can't drive stick."
Jesus, that is so disappointing. It's so essentially, I'm gonna rewatch the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo and just not watch this movie. Is what you're telling me?
Right? Yeah. So rewatch the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, even though that show, the quality dips after that episode that Dale was too meta for its own good. The episodes following that one are kind of a dip in quality because it's these last 3 episodes where they were trying to set up arcs for a second season.
Yeah.
Like they introduce the Spectre and Poltergeist Society, or SAPS, and that's like Bogle and Weird are trying to get into SAPS. Like
Nice.
that becomes their whole story. So like you can see like they were trying to increase the show a little bit, and it just didn't work out. And it's why they didn't catch all the ghosts in the show, because they're like, well, now we have a place to go. And then 34 years later, they released this movie to like tie it all up. And it doesn't tie it all up so much as say, none of that ever happened.
Which is weird because it's not like there's like a universe that of Scooby-Doo now that we need to like salvage, right? Like, ugh.
There's just the movies. And there are movies where like ghosts and stuff have been real. Looking at you, Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island.
Well, I mean, the live action movies. We've dealt with the idea of Velma dealing with the fact that ghosts are real in two different mediums, right? And like Fred not necessarily being the smartest on the team. Like we've dealt with that successfulely. Like we've seen that done right. So to see it done not well is doubly disappointing.
Yeah, it was disappointing all over. And it was one of these things where I was so excited to like watch it because I was hoping that it would stay true to the original series.
Right.
And it did stay true to the original series. It just was able to take 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo and slam it into the cage of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Which seems to be completely missing the point in terms of why fans enjoy that show. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what the fandom is around it, but the few people in my life that I have talked to about that show as like lovers of that show have talked about the fact that they love it because it is not part of like it is so different from the original series. Like it fits in styles of like comedy and stuff like that, but in terms of like the fact that ghosts are real being important to people when they talk about the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, the fact that like Freddy and Velma aren't there and that Daphne is in charge is what's important to people. You know, like Scrappy Doo, for all his faults and the way that the world does take issue with him, like him being there as the foil is like one of the things that people love about that show. So like it just seems like they completely missed why that show has the cult following that it does. And if you're not making it for those cult fans, why are you making it? You know what I mean? Like you're not bringing in new fans with this particular film because you're not talking about it being an ongoing thing. I mean, unless they are they talking about there being sequels to this movie?
Zach's whole theory is that this was a backdoor pilot for another 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo series.
In which the ghosts aren't real? Because that's or is the reveal going to be that the movie, that they got it wrong in the movie, that there actually is an actual 13th ghost out there somewhere? Because that would be kind of awesome if they started this whole thing with Freddy and Velma feeling like validated for not being there because they figured everything out this time, and then the entire series is about them having to come to terms with the fact that they were actually super wrong.
That would be cool, and I'd be all right with that, and it's how I could forgive this movie. But the fact that it took a series that, as a kid, I always liked the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and why wouldn't I? It was them chasing the demon of Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
like, 100%, that's what they were going for.
Sure.
And the worst part is, there are these great fan servicey moments in The Curse of the 13th Ghost. Like, Shaggy is flying the plane, and Fred goes, and they're like, yeah, well, you seem real comfortable, Fred, but maybe you should go talk to the pilot. And it's Shaggy, and he freaks out because he's like, Shaggy knows how to fly a plane? And, like, that's a joke that I made with you.
Yeah.
That's a joke that people have made about this show.
Right.
A demon steamroller shows up in the credits of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The 13th Ghost transformed into that at one point.
Yeah.
So all these beautiful little moments that I wanted to have happen in this movie still happened. It just then ended in a way that, like, but none of those matter.
Yeah, it seems like somebody did their research, but, like, didn't interpret it well, is what it sounds like.
So that's where I was at with that. And then I saw Serenity, and I forgave everything.
Because the world made sense
The world made sense again. Maybe Scooby-Doo was just a video game.
Being played by a child about to murder his father.
Stepfather, let's be honest. It
Let's
wasn't
get it right.
patricide. It was step-patricide. Ooh, patricide.
Oh man. Wow.
So yeah, that's all I got to say. Anything you'd like to add, Sejohn?
No, my mind is blown knowing that ghosts are in fact not real and that it's all just a video game. Or that those two truths have just really rocked me tonight.
Yeah. So you go enjoy your cold shower. Just sitting there rocking. I don't know what to believe anymore. While I tell people, if you'd like to talk to me about any of the things I brought up this episode, you go ahead and find me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And if you want to talk me down from this ledge that I'm now on, you can find me at Siege vs. the World.
So until next time, Will, it turns out you're the 13th ghost! Woo!
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.